The Gen Z adult, they spend around 6 hours online.
Yeah, that checks out.
And PlayStation Plus is slightly ahead.
Ofcom and dating apps.
People use more than one dating service. 17 hours on Fortnite.
I'm a little bit guilty of that because I've got a PS5 and I've got PS Plus.
Ever wondered how much time we spend online? Is it taking over? Are we just glued to our screens? Well, we're going to take a deep dive into that very question and see how people across the UK are spending their time online. We're going to talk about social media, AI, gaming, and so much more. Joining me are Tahid and Sumita, the brains behind our new Online Nation report. Hi, guys. So, how much time do we all spend online? I don't think I can go a day without going on TikTok or Instagram. How about you?
I mean, I'm certainly guilty of going on Instagram quite a lot. I think it's my most used app. So yeah, I think screen time is generally quite high for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I average about 5 hours daily.
Okay.
So yeah, I think looking at the report, it's kind of in line with my age bracket.
Is it? Okay.
Maybe slightly higher. But yeah, I think accounting for work and accounting for kind of social purposes, I'm not sure that's a true reflection of what my actual screen time might be. But yeah, I think it gives a ballpark of what.
Yeah, because I guess that's just on your phone.
Yeah,
That
yeah, that's just on my phone. So when you take into account, TV or computers, laptops, etc., yeah, I think it's probably a bit high.
How about you, Smita?
Yeah, I mean, it's a tricky one to answer because I think most of the day I am online.
Yeah.
And I guess some people will be like they're online for most of the day and they think that they're not online as much, whereas for others they might be online less but think that they're online a lot more than they actually are. But we found that on average, adults spent 4 hours and 20 minutes per day online in May this year. And that's across smartphone, tablets, and your computer, laptops. So that's not even including things like your smart speakers and TV sets.
Oh my gosh, I didn't just think about like my smart speaker thing. I like online because I feel like I'm just talking to her. Like she doesn't feel online. But I think my screen time just on my phone was about near the same as you, but like some weeks I looked back, it can average like between 5 and 6 hours, and I was like, is that too much? I don't know. But like what social media kind of like apps are we using? What do we see is really, really popular online right now?
So, I mean, the top social media app for adults is YouTube. So that's used by 94% of adults, again, on the devices that I already mentioned. So that's computers, tablets, and smartphones. And across all adults, on average, they're spending 44 minutes per day on YouTube.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, exactly. And again, not counting the TV set use, which is becoming ever popular. The second most popular app and website would be among social media services is Facebook. Again, nearly everyone all adults using that at 91%. And they're spending on average 36 minutes per day. So yeah, social medias are the ones that are up there as to where our time is being spent.
I would say YouTube kind of shocks me, but then I guess it makes sense because you're watching a lot of long videos on there.
Exactly.
And like one video could be half an hour, depending how committed you are.
Yeah.
And you mentioned there, like, that doesn't even count TV. And I guess most people are spending their times on their phone. Is that right?
Yeah. So I think generally most of the time spent online is on smartphones. A small percentage of that is on tablets and computers. And we see that generally across most age groups as well. And actually, it's the younger adults who spend more time online versus older adults. And, as age increases, we kind of see a small decline in the time spent online.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you remember a time, I don't know if people still do this, but like when you'd have like in your family house, the family computer and like everybody would go on like
that. There was a lot of arguments when who could go on, and when it's my turn. And
yes, literally same. I'm like, but I have to do my homework on there, so I have to have it, and then I'd go on some kind of game. But I guess we don't really see that everybody has access to the internet all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the last thing I do before I go to bed and the first thing I do when I wake up. I think there was something in the research about going to bed with your phone, wasn't it? Like,
Yeah, so I think like that kind of balance between your online life and offline life, like that, I think that's a challenge for a lot of people, and kind of finding that right balance between the two. So I know for me personally, I have certain strategies that I have in place. So I know when I'm working, I'll put my phone at the other end of the room, just
that's very
yeah,
good.
just to keep myself from being distracted. Or I used to have notification sounds on, and it used to just go off all the time.
I don't think I could do
No, I've turned it off now because I can't deal with it anymore. So, but in the report, like we mentioned, some other strategies that other people might use to, find that balance between the online and offline life. So there's things like turning on your do not disturb settings, or turning off notifications. That bit about going to bed with your phone. I think a lot of people decide like, that's it, I'm not going to do that anymore, and that's kind of a way to overcome it. So
That's shock. Well, maybe I need to reevaluate my own screen time because I feel like I'm pretty comfortable with the fact that I go online a lot, but I don't know, maybe I should do more things. So you said in the report people talk about ways of managing their time. Is that quite common? Do you think people are quite comfortable with their screen time, or are people kind of less happy with how much time they're online?
I think it's that there's definitely worries amongst we saw with children. There was almost half of children kind of felt worried about the amount of time that they spent online. So I think it's a balance. It's kind of between, like, some people feel quite comfortable with the amount of time they spend online, and some people feel like they kind of need to limit their use a bit more. So I think it's quite an individualized experience.
I was just going to come to you, Samit, and say, do you do anything to manage your screen time? How do you feel about the amount of time that you're online?
It's difficult not to be online. Like, I think most people immediately think of their online use. They're thinking about the social media services. But we do so much online, like using our emails, using maps to find where we're going, connecting with friends and family. So all of that is like online nowadays. So yeah, there's a lot that it's difficult to not be online, I think.
Yes.
So yeah.
Imagine, like, I saw a documentary of like someone, like, kids without their phones and kind of really struggling. I honestly don't know how I wouldn't survive. Like you mentioned Google Maps. I think that was a big part of the report, that Google Maps is one of the popular apps, right? I think there was something about that.
There's been an increase in Google Maps usage, and that might just be a flow on from the pandemic. We're just out and about more now. So we've seen that like over the past couple of years just slowly increasing. So yeah, Google Maps is the top map service that's used online. But yeah, there are others such as Apple and like City Mapper.
Oh my gosh, I love City Mapper. Not an ad, but I literally couldn't get around without it.
I feel like Google Maps sometimes it suggests like the most crazy journeys. I always go for City Mapper instead, just to kind of verify it a bit more.
And then I do see on City Mapper, you can see like when the bus is coming. Like sometimes it has the little bus icon, and I'm like, okay, I know the bus is nearly here because I can watch it move towards me. Like when a package comes, I can watch the delivery come. My friend also manages her time. There's like an app where she has like a little garden, like a virtual garden that grows if you like spend less time on your social media apps, which I think is very cute. And I think like lots of people are like doing other things to kind of help manage their time. Was there a difference between how like younger people or older people feel about being on time, or how men and women kind of feel about their time online?
So with younger people, so with adults, the Gen Z adults, so that's 18 to 24s, they spend around 6 hours online.
Yeah, that checks out.
Yeah. So it's quite a lot. And then as Tahid was saying, as the age increases, you see a decline in how much time is being spent online. So those aged 65 plus are spending 3 hours and 10 minutes online per day in May. So yeah, and then again, there's the difference when you look at women. So with women, across all adult age groups, they are spending more time online compared to men. But then the difference amongst the Gen Z group is stark, with Gen Z women spending an hour longer online than men, Gen Z men.
Okay, so I'm going to ask you. So if I told you I'm a Gen Z woman and 26, what do you already know about me from the data, just from the research? What can you tell me about me? Because I feel like I'm pretty stereotypical.
So do you love Snapchat by any chance?
I'm like, well, I did love Snapchat, but it's starting to I'm starting to come off of it a bit. I feel like it's a bit younger than me. Maybe I'm on the older end of Gen Z.
Is something else taking your time instead?
TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was something else we saw in the report, that between like women and men, it was women generally who kind of preferred the Snapchat, TikTok, try to remember some of the other ones.
Pinterest. I love Pinterest.
Yeah, so women accounted for the majority of time on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and Facebook, whereas men accounted for the majority of time on Reddit, X, and Quora.
Okay.
So yeah,
That's so crazy. Okay, Quora. I don't think I've ever used Quora, but then that maybe checks out with the research. But what, Q&A?
yeah, it's similar to Reddit,
Okay.
so question and answer forum.
Yeah. And Reddit has had a big surge in the research. I know Reddit's been around for a long time, but I feel like this piece of research has really had a lot on Reddit. What's new with Reddit this year?
I think there could become multiple factors at play, but something that we think may have contributed towards that rise of reach for Reddit was they were on the New York Stock Exchange, so they were selling kind of shares for earlier on in the year. So we think that may have kind of increased their popularity and exposure.
Yeah, and in addition to that, last year, they started charging for their API access. So there was some apps that were providing access to Reddit through their own apps, and by adding the cost, it means that they had to shut down because they couldn't afford it. So that might have triggered the users to those apps to go onto Reddit. So yeah, a bit of a surge for Reddit. So over half of adults in the UK by June were visiting Reddit.
Do you guys use Reddit? Have you ever been on there?
Yeah, I've used Reddit. Not loads, but yeah, I've used it for a amount. A lot of my friends use Reddit as well. So
I always end up sometimes recently, okay, here's also related. Instagram, they've added the 20 carousel photos.
Yeah.
I've still not had access to that, which I think is really rude because I need that. So I Googled, I was like, why is Instagram not letting me have the 20 carousel photos? And the first thing that came up was a Reddit thread. So that's what I always end up on Reddit through some kind of very specific question that other people are experiencing. But there's so much else on there. And you say men use it a lot more?
Yeah, so they account for the largest portion of time versus women.
And women are on Instagram and TikTok. But I guess my experiences will be very different to my male counterparts and my boyfriends that are on these similar apps. They're seeing a lot of different experiences. Does the research kind of dive into that a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of, we know with, say, harmful content, we've noticed some interesting gender differences between, men and women in terms of the types of harmful content that they might come across online. So, with men, they're more likely to come across content such as kind of misinformation, scams or fraud, hate content, or fake or deceptive content. Women were more likely to experience kind of unwelcome friend or follower requests.
Oh yeah, I've had that more.
Yeah, you've had that a lot as well. Do you feel like that's something that you've kind of noticed amongst, say, friendship groups or colleagues?
Yeah, I recently turned my Instagram private, but before I did have it public, and when it was public, I'd get loads of unsolicited messages, and I'm just like, I don't know you. I don't want to talk to you. I think that is kind of common amongst my friends. Really sadly, I feel like we kind of just
kind of
expect it.
It's the norm. It's just something you expect when you go online. Yeah.
So maybe it's a bit sad that it is the norm.
Well, there were other types of content as well. So it wasn't just follow requests, but misogynistic content and body image content was something that women tended to experience more than men as well.
Especially on Instagram. I don't know if you see that a lot, Smita. Like, I see a lot of kind of influencers, you know, promoting different kind of gym stuff. And a lot of it is quite positive, but I guess mass amounts of it can feel quite overwhelming, especially for young women. I think that all the time, like trying to live up to one particular type of body image. I feel like we get that a lot on social media. And it's really interesting that is what is coming back on the research.
Yeah, and it's similar for children as well. Like the experiences, like some of the trends that we're seeing are very similar between boys and girls. So, like again, compared to boys, girls were more likely to experience again friend or follow requests, like misogynistic content, kind of body type content, excessive eating, excessive dietary kind of eating and exercising kind of content as well, like group shaming, anything related to eating disorders as well. So there's quite a common kind of pattern going on there between men and women and boys and girls, which I think is worrying, but like really interesting to find out about as well. And there's more that can be done in that area, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. And that does link into, you know, other work that we're doing at Ofcom in terms of online safety and violence against women and girls. And women do disproportionately see different harms online, which the research does highlight. And that's really interesting. You said, like, I don't know if it dives a bit into this, but it said like misogynistic content. Did the research say like the types of misogynistic content, or was that just a category that kind of people had to...
It was more of a category, yeah. They'd select like these are the examples I've seen.
And how did you do that? So do you like ask like a group of people? How did that work?
Yeah, it's through a survey. So we sent the survey to children and adults. So it was aged from kind of 13 upwards, and we asked about a whole variety of different types of harmful content that they might come across. So misogynistic content was one of those harms that they might have said that they had come across.
Moving on, the research also covers stuff about dating apps, which I found super interesting. I don't think people would normally associate Ofcom and dating apps. What surprised you about the data about dating apps? What did we learn?
I think personally the most interesting finding in that section was around the fact that people use more than one dating service. So more than half of adults that are using Hinge, Plenty of Fish, and Bumble were also using Tinder, which is the most popular dating service in the UK, used by 1.9 million adults. Altogether, there's 5 million adults using a dating service in May. So it's not a huge portion of the population, but still, like, it's quite sizable.
Well, all trying to find love.
Exactly. And I guess the interesting thing is that there's more men using dating services than women. So 65% of online men out of the 5 million were using a dating service, whereas it was 35% for women.
Hey, I wonder why that is. I mean, probably if we think about it, it's not that tricky, but that's so interesting. I think that kind of makes sense because I've amongst my friends hear a lot about like fatigue around dating apps, just kind of like a bit tired, a bit fed up. Is there a noticeable difference in how people are using dating apps?
So I think this year, for the first time, we are seeing a bit of a trend as to the popular services. So that's Tinder, Hinge, Bumble, and Grindr. They've actually experienced a dip in their reach.
Oh, really?
So Tinder, year on year, had seen a 600,000 drop in reach, and it was 300,000, I think, for Bumble Inc., which they also own Badoo as well. So I think some analysts are saying that there's just a bit, as you were saying, the fatigue and just with Gen Z potentially switching off. from dating apps and not interested in going onto it. But we'll have to see in the years to come whether this is just a little bit of a blip or an actual trend.
Yeah.
I think despite that, it's worth saying that we looked into kind of Valentine's Day as well earlier on in the year, and it was still, online dating services were still popular for a lot of people on Valentine's Day. Yeah, so it's not, I think, totally people aren't totally kind of uninterested in
Yeah.
that, but I think there's certain times in the year clearly where there's still
There's certain times, Valentine's Day, people really feel the need. I need to get on the date.
Specifically, the weekend straight after Valentine's Day, there were over 2 million adults going onto it. So that's the time, if you were going to go on, that is the time to go on.
Oh, so they tip out there. They're going to go on Valentine's Day, the day that everybody's on. There's the weekend after Valentine. That's amazing. That's hilarious. I personally don't use a lot of dating apps. But what is the big one of the year? Amongst my friends, I feel like Hinge is really popular. Is there like a difference between popularity for like different age groups? What's the one to go to? You said Tinder.
Yeah, so Tinder's the most popular. I think it's around 18% of Gen Z use make up the dating services proportion.
The other thing that comes to mind is Tinder is, I think they've said that they will be bringing some changes to their service to kind of account for what we were talking earlier about kind of Gen Zs, to kind of engage them as much as possible. They've said they'll kind of bring certain features to try and engage with them a bit more. So yeah, I mean that's some,
So we'll have
some
to see. We'll have to see if that
materializes over time.
Yeah. It's quite funny because again, I said I'm not really on dating apps, but I often use my friends' dating apps kind of like a game. Do you ever like feel like that? I feel like it's probably very different when you're on it, but I'm like, oh, can I play on your dating app game? And then it's all just like, do you like this boy, this girl, this boy, this girl? And I kind of find it quite fun, but that's how I'm able to look at it kind of from the outside. I'm sure they don't really appreciate it. I was going to also then ask about AI. Do you guys use it?
I know I have. So ChatGPT in particular, when I do some holiday research and I'm trying to find out like what kind of activities to do or restaurant.
Oh, where'd you go on holiday?
I'm trying to think of an example. I went to Malta, like, what was it, like last year, I think. So ChatGPT was just my way of kind of finding something quite quickly.
I like things to do in Malta.
Yeah, and just kind of build like an itinerary of some sort.
That's so
yeah. So I kind of used it in that sense. And actually saying that, it related to some of the things that we were finding in the report, because the most kind of common reason for adults using a Gen AI kind of tool of some sort was to find information or content. So that kind of relates to my experiences as well.
Yeah, I think I do that too. I recently was like, ChatGPT is a big one for me as well. And I recently was like using it almost like I would use Google to search something, because I couldn't be bothered to go through Google, whereas ChatGPT kind of compiled everything I needed in one. But that's what people are doing. They're kind of using it for information.
And I think it's worth saying as well, although I did that, I still did have some sort of I had some sort of cautious approach to it, and didn't kind of take it all for granted. And I think our data's also kind of showing that with adults. Generally, it seems like, yes, they might use kind of Gen AI tools for information, to kind of gather information about something. But that trust isn't kind of fully there yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just 18% trust the information that they're provided with when using Gen AI. And the majority, so I think it was around 61%, were neutral about the information provided, which is great. It shows that people are thinking about the information that they're being given and not just taking it
for granted. Yeah, like believing it straight away.
Exactly.
Because I think there's a lot of talk about AI, and especially I feel like this year I've seen it everywhere. But are we actually all using it? Is it really super popular?
So we're not all using it. So 41% of online age 16 plus were using ChatGPT and other Gen AI services over the past year. and over half of kids were doing the same. So that's kids aged 8 to 15.
Oh, really?
They
That's
were-
the homework then.
Not all of them, but 48% did say that they were using it for schoolwork.
Oh, really? Yeah. What's the other things they were using it for?
Well, actually, the most common reason was for fun. Like they were kind of exploring the technology, which
Oh, I love that.
yeah. But it was interesting to see because with the adults were saying, that kind of trust wasn't fully there with children. It was slightly higher.
Oh, really?
So yeah, I think that there's kind of a greater degree of trust with Gen AI amongst children than there is for adults.
Yeah.
But,
And then I think you've also got that gender difference as well, where half of men were using Gen AI, but only a third of women were. But the gender difference was a lot smaller amongst kids. So you do see a lot more girls using it. But yeah, there is that difference there amongst the genders.
Do you use AI? We didn't cover that if you did.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
What do you use it for?
So similar actually, doing an itinerary for holidays and just when I want to find out information. So that is like for me like the 36% of that we found in our survey using it for informational content.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I thought what did I use AI for recently? I did a weekly meal prep, which was very cool. And I got it to do the meal prep, and then I got it to make that into a shopping list. And then I got it to reorganize the shopping list by the sections in the supermarket where you found the thing. So that when I was going around the supermarket, I never had to like go back on myself and go back to that section.
Did it work? The meal prep?
It didn't work.
what were you making?
So I made teriyaki chicken and rice, and then I did like a sweet and sour sticky chicken and rice, and then I did like a beef one in between. But yeah, I guess for fun as well, I haven't really I've used it a bit to like make images. Are people talking about that at all in the research, or is it mainly like ChatGPT and like write him?
No, so so people were using it to make images, for coding, to even have a chat with the AI. So there are a variety of reasons people were using Gen AI. So yeah, there's lots of things you can do on it.
Was there any talk amongst like kids in particular about the Snapchat AI?
Yeah, so on Snapchat My AI, so that was the second most popular with kids. So ChatGPT was popular with kids as well. So it makes sense that kids use Snapchat My AI because they've got they're already using Snapchat.
Yeah, like right there. It's at the top of your chat bar as well.
Exactly. So like they're already within the ecosystem. Makes sense that they're going to try it out. So when it came out last year, it was its reach amongst children was higher than ChatGPT. But I think that initial kind of testing it out, it's kind of dropped down a little bit, but still second most popular.
So we do loads of stuff about gaming in Ofcom, but we don't always talk about it. We don't always give gaming the limelight it deserves. So here's a little glimpse into gaming. I'm from a family of gamers, so I know how much they game, mainly PC stuff, but how much on average are we gaming as like a population? Is gaming really a big thing?
Unsurprisingly, kids are the ones that love gaming. So 58% of children game online, while 35% of those aged 16 plus also game online. So we definitely are a nation of gamers, and gamers tend to spend around 7 hours per week gaming.
On average?
Yeah, on average.
Some people are way more.
Yeah, I think when you take the people that aren't spending as much and then the people that are spending hours, it just works out to 7.
That's going to be like 1 hour a day. That feels all right.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it generally like decreases with age as well. So the older you get, the kind of less time you are spending gaming.
Yeah, and as probably also unsurprising that men spend more time gaming than women, so 8 hours versus 6 hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Although we did notice with mobile gaming specifically, some of the kind of top reaching gaming mobile gaming services, it was generally women that were playing them more than men were. So
Yeah, so Candy Crush Saga still up there at the top.
Pokemon Go, something like that. That's
Yeah, that's one of the top ones as well. But yeah, 70% of Candy Crush Saga gamers are women.
And what about Pokemon Go? Is that similar? Women more or?
Ooh, I don't know.
Not sure about
top-
that.
I think it was closer, but yeah, I think it's slightly more women than men.
That's so interesting. Why? I mean, I don't know if the research goes into like why we think that is, but like that's so interesting to think about. Maybe I'm more on the go with my phone and I don't really like sit down and game. Whereas like my brother and my dad's are like massive gamers and like I said, like PC, sat down at home, serious business. Whereas I might be like on my phone on my commute or something. I don't know. Maybe that's
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely it's easier to game on your phone because you've already got your phone. Like, whereas with like gaming PCs and consoles, you have to specifically go out, get the devices on your gate.
you'll just get out your way and be able to do that.
Exactly. So, yeah, there is a sizable proportion of households that have a gaming console, and PlayStation 5 just nudges ahead of the Xbox Series X and S. So, yeah, I'm sure the PlayStation 5 players.
And generally the subscriptions as well, actually, the subscriptions to gaming services like PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live, etc.
Yeah.
And PlayStation Plus is slightly ahead of Xbox there as well. So
I've got the Nintendo Switch Online, so not to forget the Nintendo Switch people out there.
Where was that on the list? Did that come on up?
That is on the list. But yeah, I think as you were kind of alluding to, the Xbox and PlayStation are the ones
I
leading.
think I'm a little bit guilty of that because I've got a PS5 and I've got PS Plus.
What are your favourite games to play on your PS and Switch?
Oh, I'll let you go first.
See-
So yeah, go on the Switch.
So I love Super Mario games. So,
Yeah, classic.
yeah, and I've just bought Just Dance and latest version. So that's my Christmas sort.
So how do you play Just Dance on the Switch? Do you take the like sides off and they become?
Yeah, they're your controllers to
That's
do all the dance moves. I won't show them to save myself for embarrassment. But I've also got the Meta Quest, so yeah, taking my dancing to the metaverse in Beat Saber, and trying to dodge the blocks. So if anyone else is dodging those blocks, it's not easy.
It's not. No, I can't imagine. That's sick. I want to bring back the Wii because I've only ever done Just Dance on the Wii, and I don't know if that made the list this year. Probably not.
Yeah, I think it's because it's been trumped by the Nintendo Switch. So
Is there a Wii Sports on Switch?
yes, there is. I can confirm that, and yeah, and they added basketball to it, so I am loving that.
Right. Okay. Christmas present this year. But like I need the Switch so I can play Wii Sport. I love that. And on the PS, what's your favorite?
I am a little bit guilty of playing. It was FIFA, now EA FC 24. We're on to 25 now.
Wait, is that the same thing? Or is
It's to say they've had a bit of a branding change, but yeah, it's essentially the same game.
And that was the top game across it.
Yes, and that was the top game. So I feel like I'm following the trend, right?
Yeah, so you're stereotypical om.
Yeah, I'd say so.
What are the other games on the list? I love Sims. Did that make the list? No.
No. Do they still make?
Well, I think we've been stuck on Sims 4 for many years. We have not got an update in a long time. But yeah, people still play. I like to think.
Yeah, no, it's been a while. Like I had Sims back in the day when it was new and had Hot Date. So this is showing my age. So it's a bit of a while, but yeah, I
Call
think
of Duty.
yeah, cool. Minecraft, Roblox, Fortnite was in number 2. And I think people spent around 17 hours on Fortnite. So
What a
a month,
okay.
I want to say.
I was gonna be like a day. So can you imagine? Oh my gosh. I've never played Fortnite, but I do like the Fortnite dance. Is that still a thing?
I've not played Fortnite myself.
My brother will always whip that out and I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, it's Fortnite. And then you mentioned there that a lot of young people put a lot of they really value gaming. It's really important for them. Why do we think that is? Why is it more important? Or why do they value it a lot more than maybe older adults?
So I think certainly it's kind of our media literacy research that really pulls this out, that children are, still gaming. It's still very popular, but the kind of reasons for gaming has changed quite a lot. So it's not just that they're playing it to enjoy the game itself, but actually, they go on it to socialize with their friends. I think with children in particular, that seems to be quite a strong motivational factor to play. So
There's also the element with some games they're working together to like play the game. So I think with like Rainbow Six Siege, which was also in the top 10, like they'll work with their friends in a team to defeat another team. So there's also like practical skills being applied, as well as like socializing with their friends.
So really what we're saying is parents, gaming is good. Yeah? Oh, I'm saying that. Ofcom's not fair. I'm really excited. Thank you so much for joining me and covering everything that we did. I know that. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn anything else about the Online Nation Report, the link to the full thing is in our description, and you can find everything we spoke about today and so much more. Leave a question in the comment if you had any throughout the video, and don't forget to subscribe.